Spec work. What is it and should you be doing it? That's what I'm going to be talking about in this week's episode. Welcome back to the Freelancers Tea Break, the short and sweet podcast you can enjoy whilst you're making a cuppa. And this week, I mentioned in last week's episode about spec work and under the umbrella of working for free. And I wanted to talk about it in a bit more detail because not everybody knows what it is, but there's a chance as a freelancer that you might be asked to do it. And I want you to go in armed with all the knowledge. So I've got written here a definition of what spec work is. First of all, speculative work is short for speculative work. So it says spec work, also known as speculative work, is any kind of creative work that has been completed or submitted by volunteer designers to prospective clients under the circumstances that a fair or reasonable fee has not been agreed upon in writing. Designers are required to invest time and resources to contest with each other to win a contract. So, spec work is asking freelancers to offer free samples of their work to compete with other freelancers to win a contract, otherwise known as total bullshit. This is commonly used for more the creative side of the freelancing industry. So, graphic designers, photographers, makeup artists, writers, it's more commonly asked in those areas. I will say in the last few years, it's become less common when because more and more people are standing up for it, but it still happens, and I want you to know about that. Um, and also, it's not the same as volunteering, which is where you are volunteering your time to often a charity or a cause, and there's an understanding of what's involved in that, or collaborating with other freelancers where there might be, say, a makeup artist, a photographer, a graphic designer. They all work on a project together, knowing that they will all get great content for their portfolio, but nobody else is profiting from that. It's a collaborative thing rather than someone taking advantage. So, spec work, in my opinion, is clients taking advantage of freelancers to provide a free service. So, it might be, I see it most often for writers actually, people saying, we've got this writing job coming up, submit an example essay on this topic, and we will sort through and see which ones we want to do. But I've seen it with makeup artists, photographers, all sorts of different things. And we saw a case of this with a very kind of popular entrepreneur in the industry recently talked about this, where she did one for photography, invited people to come up, not paying for anything, to compete to win a gig as a photographer. I personally feel like it undervalues the industry, it undervalues people's work. It also means that only those who can afford to work for free can access those roles. And I don't think it sets good foundations for a good, healthy working relationship. Sometimes there tends to be an attitude of, well, you should be grateful that you won this gig if you win it. Otherwise, you've just spent a whole day doing a bunch of free work. And some clients, and this is not all clients, it's just the bad ones, and they are more rare, but some of them will go on and use, say, for example, the writing situation. If people have also submitted articles, they might then go on to use it on their website and they'll claim it's something like, oh, it's great exposure for you. But anything like that is taking advantage of freelancers and it's unnecessary. It is unnecessary because in this day and age, we have testimonials, whether you've got them on LinkedIn or you've been collecting them and putting them on your website or your social media. So you've got testimonials from other people saying how good you are. You've got portfolios. So that's the work that you've done to prove your skill set, whether as a photographer, that's previous shoots that you've done. As a graphic designer, it might be logos that you've done for clients or ones that you've created for projects that you've kind of created in your mind. Or like kind of dummy project type things. Web designers, same thing. So you can do these things for yourself. It's when someone else comes in and profits off you doing these things for free is when there becomes an issue. And it's just not necessary. I've got an example written here, which I always refer to. You wouldn't go into a hairdresser's and say, oh, can I have a spec work haircut, please, so that I know you can do the job? And I'm going to go to all the different hairdressers in the local areas for the next 6 months to test how everyone's doing. Or to a builder and say, can you come and do a wall outside my house so that I can see if you can do the job? It's just not okay to do that. We work based on recommendations, portfolios, and evidence of what we've done. You don't need to be providing your skills for free. There is a kind of a grey area of this in that some people will pay people to do a trial, or they will pay people to do like a trial um, blog post for a client or a photography shoot. I think if you're paying, absolutely fine. But when you are asking people to work for free to prove that they can do a job, when there's other ways of doing that, it's completely unnecessary. And I think, as I mentioned, if you are approached to do this kind of thing, you can either point them towards your testimonials, you can point them towards your portfolio. Hopefully, you've got that, or just walk away because you deserve to be valued, and working for free is not going to make you feel valued. It's not going to make them value you either. Um, and usually also they will base their decision on who will charge the least as well. So you get that fun element to it as well. It's not just about you giving free work, but then they want someone who's going to be charging the least as well. So I am personally a big fan of saying no to spec work. You deserve to be valued and paid for what you do. And if you choose to work for free, that's totally your decision, but it shouldn't be something that a client profits from because they're trying to kind of get the best of both worlds. So that's my stance on spec work. If you want to go back and have a listen or a watch of the last episode, I talked a bit more about working for free, the pros, the cons, when it's acceptable, the 3 times that I do think working for free can help you. But more than anything, it needs to be of benefit to you. And actually, one thing I will probably touch on in a future episode is things like offering freebies in your business. So it might be like free audits or even just offering freebies. Like I have quite a few freebies, which you can find in the bio, in the show notes and things like that. So there are ways of doing it, but it needs to benefit you and you need to be in control of it. So I'd love to know what you think. If you've experienced spec work, if you've been approached about it, or you've gone through and done it, what your thoughts are, and would you do it in the future? And I hope you have a wonderful freelance week.